halfway home if you're listening in the 239. Final hour of the show for those of you in Tampa, St. Pete. Top of the morning to you. How the heck are you? Miller and Moulton, the Florida Sports Network, the Florida Sports Network. Pat Kirwan always joins us on Tuesdays, a little earlier this time around. Pat, he of NFL Radio, moving the chains weekday afternoons, and CBS's NFL Today show. Pat Kirwan's weekly appearances brought to us by Pinchers from Tampa to Key West and a dozen locations in between Pinchers because you can't fake fresh. Pat, how are you?
I'm doing really well, and we finally got to the playoffs. And I think first relief, nobody got in with a losing record, and that's the good thing when you're trying to put 7 teams in. So pretty interested in the games that are coming up. And I was just saying to the young man who called me, he said, "Did you watch the game last night?" I said, "I've already watched it twice. I watched it live, and I got up this morning and watched it again." David, you know this. Mark, you know this. There were 30 players in the game with a draftable grade. Had a lot of work to do on that one game.
Gary Danielson was on the show yesterday, and he had the number at 30 to 32 that he thought was going to be drafted, and he thought, Pat, that the 4 best players on the field are all underclassmen and not eligible for the draft.
I might agree with that, but that's the difference when you're talking about schools like that. Many guys have come out of Alabama telling me, "I played hurt." Well, why'd you do that? Because the guy behind me, the rookie, the freshman, is better than me, and I don't want to give up my job. So guys will do anything to stay on the field. So when you have that level of competition, there's always a push from behind as well. So, yep. It's those football factories don't ever stop securing talent. I will say, last night and then again this morning, because I started on the D line, there's a lot of quality defensive linemen who played last night.
There is no doubt. That was Pat. I left Moulton alone during that one because I figured he was salivating. That was good old fashioned, hard, physical. I have to think, Pat, as a lifer football guy, that had to be a game that you just enjoyed the physicality of it.
I did. But, it's a great reminder, Mark, as great as the front 7 is and can be at both places, when it came right down to the weak link was a cornerback from Alabama, a young kid. And once they figured out where he was and how to get to him, then it turned the tide for Georgia. Otherwise, that was just a slugfest in the middle of the field.
Pat, Black Monday. And, normally the number's around a handful. And all in all, when you consider that the Raiders and Jags also have interim coaches and Vic got fired in Denver technically on Sunday, we're going to end up with a half a dozen or more. I mean, could have as many as 7 or 8. But was there a move yesterday, a coach or general manager let go, that truly surprised you?
Yeah, Florida. Living down in Miami, I didn't think Flores would get dumped that fast, but he did. And I think the conflicts were inside the building. And I talked to enough guys that I felt like he was a bit of an agitator with his staff, and I don't think everyone came to his defense. And if you go toe-to-toe with your GM, and I'm not suggesting he did all the time, but they eventually conclude, there's no harmony here. I need to be working on the team. But some people don't think when there's abrasion that you're really working together. So Brian's out. That wouldn't surprise me. I think the other ones we all kind of predicted it would happen. I talked to Vic every week in Denver. He would never disclose that he thought he was out, but to me, that might have been the mistake because all they need is a quarterback. The rest of it's in place to be good. Now let's see. Are they going to give the new coach a quarterback and then keep everything else? And then you'll realize, Vic was a pretty good coach.
Yeah, 7-9 without a Pro Bowler. One of the only teams in the league did not have that and did a pretty good job with this season, like you said, without a quarterback. Back to Miami, though. Greer stays. Pat, I've listened to a lot of things that you've told me and taught me over the past decade plus of being a guest on this show. One of them is that the elite coaches out there interview owners. How does Miami get the coach that they want if the GM's already in place?
Well, you're a good student, Mark, because the guy, the elite coach who has already been a coach somewhere, has probably been successful, that realizes that I need control of this personnel. I'm not working for a personnel guy anymore. They won't do it. They will simply say, this is a bad formula for me, and they'll settle for someone else. And we know how it goes. The propaganda, and this is not a sarcastic statement, and will be that this new coach is just what we need now. And we've heard it 100 times. Switch from defensive coach to offensive guy. Shift from a disciplinarian to a player's coach. They always know how to go in the opposite direction and sell it, because the guy doesn't count in the cap. But if they really want the best of the best, and that guy wants his own GM, then they're going to have to make a late decision. I don't think they're going to go that way, but they've got a lot of big decisions to make. Are they still in the Watson hunt? There's a new head coach candidate. Have to say you can win with Tua. A lot of guys say stuff. I think Bruce Arians said he could win with Jameis, and a year later he realized he couldn't. So, got to be careful what you hear. The real question is, who is running the interview? Not setting it up, but who's running it? And is there really a collaboration of opinion when you get down to the final candidates? Or is the owner's old and he wants to win? And if he's going to hire a young guy, that's not the formula for an older coach. When our owner realized, I don't have a lot of time left, he said, and I was in the room, I want Parcells and I don't care what it takes.
He's Pat Kirwan, NFL Radio weekday afternoons. He co-hosts Moving the Chains. He's also part of CBS's NFL Today show, and he joins us twice a week in season, courtesy of Pinchers, from Tampa to Key West and many points in between. Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh. But outside of the Jets hiring Parcells, the Jets and the Dolphins, under Ross especially, have had a series of, we hire the assistant who's never been a head coach before. Jets did it, Bowles, Saleh, keep going back. You can go back 20 years. Herm's first job, Mangini's first job. I mean, the Dolphins have also done it here under Ross. We can go all the way back, Sperano, Philbin, etc. I mean, Pat, is this it's worked out that way with certain organizations, or is this done for a specific reason? And is that reason that first-time head coaches are cheaper and more controllable?
Yeah, and you named all those coaches, and what was the common thread? Nobody won. Every 2 or 3 years, you get another one. And cheaper. And I think sometimes they would never admit this. I think sometimes they know it's cheap. I can control the guy. And if he's any good, after 2 years, I'll give him a contract extension. And then I'll have picked my guy without really taking a financial risk. And the other side of the coin is, if you have a search former GM or you have a search firm, their interests are different than maybe ownership. If the GM is running the search and he doesn't want to surrender any power, he's going to gravitate to the young guy who's not going to ask for any power. You offer a head coaching job to a young guy, he's going to take it. How many young guys that have never been head coaches say, I like the interview, but I don't really want to be here? They never say that. So you can get a confirmation, you can get what you want, and then you probably lose for a couple of years and fire him.
Pat, obviously, after the end of Week 18, we fire coaches. That's what happens in this league. But man, oh man, I know you had said, let's start the play. When we talked on Friday, let's start the playoffs and let's not even worry about Week 18. I think we could take that statement back, because Week 18 for a one-time thing really delivered, Pat.
Oh my goodness! Sunday night, I was on a plane, and someone wanted to talk to me, and I go, "Look, I really can't talk." I go, "No offense, we can talk the next time I'm on this flight, but not tonight, not with this game on." So you're right, Mark. Plenty of entertainment, and so the Raiders are a good example. They win the game. We can argue about the tie and the Chargers' decisions. The biggest decision they made that I had a problem with was 4th and 18. But, fire the analytics guy. But that head coach out there, he's been talking about how real people know why I do these things. Okay, got it. You're not in the playoffs now, and you called timeout. So I look at all this and go, yeah, very entertaining. Now, the Raiders, I already talked to some of their guys. Those guys are going to be on a plane on a short week and go out to play a Saturday night game. If they were to win that, look how I was on talking to Quentin yesterday, Quentin Jefferson. He said, I'm exhausted. There were 70 pass plays in that game that the Raiders had to defend. 70. He was on the field for like 55 or something. And he said, I'm exhausted. So they're going to have a short week. They're going to get on a plane, go play a game in Cincinnati, then come back. And if they were lucky enough to win, which I don't think they will, they're going to run out of gas. Tower always likes to talk about coming from the wild card spot, which they did. But you got to catch a break somewhere along the line and get an easy win, which is not going to happen. Otherwise, it's fairly predictable. I'll ask you guys, without even looking at the 6 games, are you picking any road teams?
Yes.
Yeah, there's 2 that I'll probably pick one of them, and they're both in the NFC between the Cardinals and the Niners.
Or Arizona.
Exactly. Those are the 2 that I will consider. I think the AFC will hold serve.
Yep. So it's just a tough ride, but it's now we're going to see. I don't think we can prove this, but we're going to find out if the 18th game, that was an exciting week, just took enough out of these guys that they can't sustain winning on the road, coming off of the situation that they had to play 18 games. Now, not a lot of guys played 18 games. COVID took care of that. You got a lot of guys. If you can run through the rosters, 15 games, 14 games, a lot of players never played all 18, 17, excuse me.
He's Pat Kirwan.